What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Week 3, 2025. It's going to be March 24th tomorrow. Headed into another week of training. Coach Ken here. We're giving it a try. Again, with another weekly athlete video meant for the coached athletes. But as usual, I'll probably keep this one public just in case you get some tips and tricks out of it. Bunch of thoughts, random stuff for the week. We had a good road race this weekend, local with a couple athletes. It was fun to get out there and see some of their faces and see the work that they've been putting in and getting out there. It's also good to get out to the local scene and see some of the other athletes and coaches out there and see how it's going, progressing into the springtime. But let's get right at it today and, just go down the list here. Again, these are just random thoughts, conversations I have with people that I'll throw a note in here afterwards and kind of think that it's something that might benefit other people. And that's why I talk about them every week. And the first one is, when we look at endurance sports, right, and we look at progression, how we're progressing, and some people may look back and again, rewind, endurance is just not something that just progresses so steadily and fast. Plus, we really don't know what somebody's true potential is. Are they really far away from it, or are they getting close to it? So when you think about, especially the longer you're in this endurance world, like, you're not going to see these leaps and bounds after a certain point. It's going to be these very incremental things that are progression, or what is you progressing in the sport. And it's not always about faster times. It's not always about faster splits. You may say, oh, and I haven't hit a fast 1 mile in a very long time, or a fast 800-meter repeat in a really long time. That's not really the only thing that marks progression in your journey. Other things that you can look at are, how'd you feel during that workout? Did you do the workout better? Were your splits more consistent and even? Because maybe that one time you logged that really fast 800-meter split on a track interval was because you went way too fast in the first interval. Okay, that's great that you maybe set this PR 18 months ago in that 800 meters. But if you look at a workout now versus that same workout, maybe your splits, although just a little slower than that best 800, are level across the 800s that you had. And it's a better workout. And overall, like, you did the workout better. And then maybe because you're progressed now, that you recover better from these workouts. Less recovery, or the less your body is banged up after some of these workouts or races, means progress. When I went through, my first couple years in endurance, I would feel like beat up after some of these hard sessions, short races and things like that. The ability to recover quicker shows another sign of the big picture of your progress. So it's not always just about numbers. It's not about pace. Think at what you're doing now versus what you were doing at that point. And then you'll probably be able to see, if you pick some things out, some odds and ends on that, you'll be able to see that you actually are progressing through it. And it's not just all about these numbers and races. A couple quick questions is, you'll notice, especially been being coached by me for a little while now, a couple seasons, I'm really um, building in a lot more stride work into your easy runs. And it's good when somebody starts with me and with coaching, and we really learn what easy is, that 80%, right? That bulk of the training, that aerobic volume that we need to do. We need to understand what that is. We need to be in it for a while and live it, because I kind of have to slow you down into that zone sometimes. You have to trust. And I love running in those zones because it's just so nice to be stress-free in that zone and not carry a high level of fatigue after these workouts. But adding in the stride component now into those easier runs, which a lot of you have been doing this past starting into this season now, is becoming a staple in a lot of your easy runs, because you've learned and understood the goal of the workout. An aerobic run, an hour run, a 50-minute run, whatever distance or time you have to get. But adding in these strides, say every mile or 10 minutes or so, depending how we structure it in, really breaks up the monotony of the run, first of all, because the good thing is I get a lot of feedback from, the workouts loading to the watch and the countdowns. And, like, if you're following something on your watch, the time goes a lot easier than just saying, go run easy for 60 minutes and stop your watch when you're done. When things are counting down every 9 or 10 minutes and beeping and making you do things, it just takes your mind and detaches you from, the hour and rushing that hour. as well. The stride in and of itself, and don't consider it's not a sprint, it's a stride. We probably structured in about 20 seconds, and this is you building to speed, building towards a like threshold pace. And by the time you build over that 20 seconds, it's time to slow back down into your easy pace. This also helps form, this helps efficiency. This just helps you correct the form in the middle of this easy run, because the feedback I've gotten, and even through myself over the years, is easy runs are great. If we do a lot of them, we kind of get lazy when we're running. We just kind of start to slouch a little bit because we're just kind of really being a lot slower than we usually are and kind of dragging our feet. So this kind of gives you a little spring, a little bounce every 9 or 10 minutes during your run, and just gets you to correction, gets your stride back in order, literally, and just gets you to correct posture and efficiency as we go through. So that's really what a stride is in a nutshell. It's not a sprint. If it was a sprint, I would label it sprint in the workout. So just consider that when you're doing this stride within your easy run. And then let's see what else we got here. Steady threshold values doesn't mean you're getting better. Chipping away race. Okay, so what this means is, say you've been training for a while, you've been racing for a while, you do another FTP test. Bummer, it didn't really go up much, or maybe it went down a couple points. You go do a threshold test in running, and it's kind of the same. Like your 5K time's about the same, your heart rate's about the same. That's okay. That, again, still doesn't mean that it doesn't mean you're not progressing, because there are other things to do it. Take two athletes, athlete A again and athlete B. Both have the same thresholds for running. Both have the same 5K times. They're both going out to run a 2-hour marathon. 2-hour half marathon. And they both have pacing plans in order. And one goes out, totally throws a pacing plan away, runs way too fast up front, hits their threshold values way too early, crashes and burns at the end, winds up running a 2:11. The other one eases into the pacing plan, slight negative split. They start hitting their numbers. They feel really good in the middle, and they have a little extra. They finish strong and finish in a 1:57 and change. Both athletes were capable of doing the same thing, but because athlete B has been learning along the way, they're getting better at their races. They're able to start chipping away and getting good race results. Now we've set a new standard for that athlete. We've set a 1:57 for the 13.1. That's something that we can go now work with those values when they go want to PR that. Maybe the next milestone for them is a 1:55, a sub 1:55. So now we can pace into that. Meanwhile, the other athlete A, who could still be just as fit, we have so much work to do in the execution of the race, the execution of the final result of all the training they put in. So just because certain things, or you don't see progress in your training or your values when we do these data collections, doesn't mean that you're not getting better at performance, because there's so many other aspects. And you can look at two athletes, one that fueled properly during a race and one that didn't fuel properly during a race. What good is it to keep progressing and pushing hard in all these training and worrying about your values in training when you're not executing properly out on race day? So that's something that I enjoy with my journey, is always chipping away at the blocks, setting a standard in a distance or a race, going back, revisiting that race after another training block, learning from the last time. So even if per se my fitness hasn't changed a lot, I can execute better on that day because of the notes and the lessons and the experience that I have from race to race. So just keep that as well. That's another way to measure your progress in endurance sports. Again, it's about setting a standard and then working towards your potential. It's the same as you're training for your first marathon. Be open-minded about it. You may say, I want to do a marathon and I want to run under 4 hours. That's my goal this year. That's great. We have a long time and a lot of things to do in that training leading up to it, but don't be stressed about the overall result. Maybe it's a 4:08. That's fine. We're setting a standard at that distance, a standard for the first time you're doing something, because now we have a lot of data that we can work off of, a lot of lessons to learn. Again, was it paced properly? Was it fueled properly? How was your taper leading into it? How was your training? Did you execute most of the work, or did you miss a bunch or make some decisions to go do some other things instead of all the training you were supposed to do? So again, that's kind of how we have to set a standard and then chip away at it. And that's how you truly do find what your potential is just keep modifying all these factors. It's not just about your functional threshold test or your threshold test in running. It's not about those results determining how much better you're getting. It's about your experience and being out there and the discipline you have to execute on race day. Speaking of threshold and FTP tests, if you have these for the coached athletes specifically, if you have a test scheduled, say we spoke end of last week, and say we said, all right, you have a run threshold test, we're going to do it next Thursday. As soon as you finish that test, just recap it on our messaging app. Throw me a message that you finished the test for the day, whether it's an FTP test on Zwift or something like that, a cycling platform, or your run test, and just let me know how it went. Give me an RPE value. Let me know how you felt, any pros and cons of it. And then that will also remind me within the next 24 hours or so to look at the values, break down everything so I can get back to you as far as your zones and discuss anything that I notice on the trends and the data on my end of things. So that's just my guidance for when you're doing those data collection days out there. And again, I have to say it, and as a coach, there's some things we just have to keep repeating because it, it really, and I keep repeating them because I repeat them for myself when I read these things or have these thoughts. Like it reiterates it to myself as well. And one of those things is trusting the process. Not running my race in training. I have a few races coming up myself, and I'll use myself as an example. I have a couple things on the horizon, a 13.1 PR attempt coming up, and as well for a 50K, I'd like to hopefully PR my 50K as well coming up. These are all in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And what my advice would be, if this is you as an athlete with these types of goals coming up as well, you're going to have some key workouts, some key sessions leading into these races. Trust the process. Don't run your race in training to see if you're there. It would be very foolish of me to go run, say, 10 miles at this max 13.1 pace that I'm trying to run, which is going to be really borderline what my potential is fitness wise right now. So close to race day, because I may just over fatigue my body as if that was the race and not show up where I'm supposed to be on race day because I'm not ready. Like I've already burned all the matches. Like they say, the hay is in the barn because you're doing all the work for training, all the blocks. The taper is the magical part that lets your body recover a little bit. And then race day comes and we light the match and burn everything down. I see it all too often. Thankfully, not for the athletes that I coach, but just in Strava alone, I look at things a little differently as a coach when I'm scrolling Strava. I don't look at it as athlete to athlete where I'm like, oh wow, look what this person's doing. That's crazy. I need to start running faster during my training runs. I look at it as I notice some people and what they're training for, and then I'll make mental notes. And I'm like, wow, if they're running that as a training run for this race that I know they probably have coming up, they should be able then to run that race at X pace if this is what they're doing in training. And I've seen it a lot. This is not the case all the time. Is I've seen some really great training runs show up on feeds on Strava, and then when they show up on race day, they fail to meet the paces that they just ran in training like a week or two ago. And what is that because of? Because they kind of ran the race in training. They didn't trust and wait and build, and it's that crescendo up to race day and then making it all happen on race day. That's how you get good race results. And then they get down on themselves because they put in so much work into their training. They've trained so hard. They poured their heart out, probably a little more than they should have during training, instead of building it all up like a package and unwrapping it on race day. That's where the magic is, and that's when you can have really good race days. And that's when you keep progressing, is because every time, again, we set a standard on race day and then we beat the standard next time out there, that's when we keep chipping away at the block to see what our true potential really is. So again, trust the process, trust the journey, and let it all out there on race day. And I assure you, you will have a great race day. And the last thing here is caring about the inputs, not the outputs. Again, and what does that mean? Similar to some of the topics we've spoken about recently, just in the last 10 minutes here, is care about the inputs into your training, the inputs into this journey. Don't really worry about the outputs. Again, the outputs could be certain performances in training, certain performances in your intervals, certain values on your long runs and what your pace is and things like that. Worry about the inputs. What are you putting into this? What are you putting into your rest and recovery, your stress control, stress management, not just in training, but outside in your life aspects. Care about the amount of sleep you're getting, the inputs, care about the fueling that you're doing, care about all the things you need to do, all those controllables that we can try and control. And the outputs will be the outputs. Whatever you put in, you will get out. If you worry about what you're getting out of it performance wise and pace wise without worrying about what the inputs are going in, you start to lose the importance of everything and the balance of it all, of how important it is to continually just put all of the inputs in that you need amongst all the different things. It's not just a matter of how hard, how fast, how long do I have to run or bike today. It's about all those other inputs that are going to make the difference for those outputs. And then let me worry about the outputs, because I can usually tell as someone's going through the training with their outputs, I can probably judge or guesstimate what your inputs are on your end. And then when we have that discussion is the telltale all of it, if that is the case or not. So with that being said, it is week 13 of 2025 and April's right around the corner. I'm hoping the sun's out. It was a little chilly today, hoping that we can just get a lot more miles going on outside, a lot more group stuff going on. But for now, I want everybody to stay safe, stay healthy. Remember, keep balancing that life 1 mile at a time, and I'll catch you all on the next one.